Let's continue our discussion and talk about Mcommerce. Mcommerce is technically the same principles that we find with mobile commerce, where we want to submit the electronic transmission of any business activities or transactions, but instead of doing it on electronic devices that are stationary, for example your personal desktop computer, we are now going to use mobile or wireless devices. Now these typically include your personal digital assistants, mobile phones, smartphones, etc. There's a few things we need to have in place before we can conduct mobile commerce. If you look at something as basic as a cell phone screen and you compare it to a computer screen, you will soon realize that there's major differences in the requirements for user interaction. For example, on a computer screen, the screen is relatively large. You can have high quality, large images, and it's very easy to navigate on websites on a display monitor. Whereas if you compare it to a cell phone, we would now note that our screen is much smaller. We might need to reduce the size of our pictures, meaning that we're going to have a more difficult time to see what's happening on pictures. And we also might need to think about the way that we interact with our screen. Instead of having a mouse pointer that is extremely small, now we have a finger which might be placed in front of content and in front of your images. So the interface should be considered, and we will in many cases find that websites will look different if you use it on various devices. For example, if you look at the example that we have here, we have a website on a tablet device, so a relatively large amount of information is displayed. On both the left and the right side, we've got smaller devices, and we can also see here that depending on the size of the device, only specific information is displayed. Now you might wonder how this actually happens. In the previous section or topic, we talked about telecommunication, we talked about websites, internet, and we talked about programming languages. And one of the technologies that we referred to was actually CSS, or cascading style sheets. So when you go and you browse a website, there's a cascading style sheet linked to that particular website. So the style sheet can detect the resolution or the size of your device, and depending on that resolution, it can actually go and load your information in a different manner. Now the second thing that we need to have in place is we need to ensure that our network speed is relatively fast. As everybody is aware, when you conduct mobile commerce, you can't really afford for connections to get lost, people worrying about whether transactions went through, all those kind of things. So you need to ensure that you have a reliable connection, that once you start with a transaction, that you will actually be able to finish that transaction. The third and final thing that's important is we need to think about security. How can we secure the transaction itself? So if you go to a website and you buy products, what are you going to do to ensure that your information wouldn't be stolen, that nobody can listen into your information? So again, typically we would use aspects such as HTTPS, which is the secure hypertext transfer protocol, which actually ensures that your information will be scrambled up and that nobody, if they intercept your information, will be able to recognize what you're trying to send. The next thing is we need to trust that the transaction will be made. Now this again, we talked about this when we did databases, talking about the atomic values, atomicity, all of those kind of things. So when you submit a transaction, when you pay for product, you want to have a guarantee that that submission has gone through and that you technically will get the products once it's available for delivery. Now let's continue and talk about various other definitions. Now, in many cases, you might have heard about the concept called electronic retailing or simply e-tailing. Now, this is where companies want to sell their products or services directly to you. So they're going to create an electronic storefront, and that storefront will typically contain a website, and on the website, once you've entered it, you will find that there's a product catalog. So you can go and scroll through that product catalog, go through various categories, and you can select the products that you want to buy. Once the products are selected, they are actually placed within a shopping cart. So similar to the concept where you go to a grocery store and you buy groceries, you're going to collect the products and you're going to put it in your shopping cart. Okay, same thing here, it's just an electronic version of that. So the electronic shopping cart will keep a record of everything that you bought. It's going to show you how much money you've actually spent and how many products you've selected. And then once you're happy with your shopping, you can actually go to the next phase, which is checkout, where you will pay for your products and the delivery process will be initiated. The next definition with regards to retail and wholesale is cyber malls. Now, a cyber mall is a single website that offers us various products and services in one location. So for example, if you think about a physical mall, you go to a mall and in that mall there's various shops. You can walk in and out of shops and you can buy the products as you want. Cyber mall, same principle. You've got a website. That website would represent products from various shops, and you go and you sell or you buy these products by adding it to your shopping cart and paying for it. The next category that uses mobile and e-commerce is manufacturing. Now, manufacturers typically raise their profits and improve customer service by moving a lot of the supply chain operations to the internet. Now, for supply chain, in the first topic we said, it usually contains elements such as inbound logistics, outbound logistics, warehousing, sales, marketing, customer services, etc. So all of those aspects will be taken to the internet. Now, also associated with manufacturing is a concept called electronic exchange. Now, electronic exchange is typically formed when a group of manufacturers and suppliers buy and sell their goods and trade market information and also run various back office operations. So you would find that many companies actually go and they would create an electronic exchange and they would conduct their business through that exchange. It just makes the whole process easier. Now, typically we find three types of exchanges: private, consortium operated, and independent. Private exchanges are typically ones that are owned by a single company. Consortium operated exchanges are a group of people. For example, if you think about vehicle manufacturers, all the vehicle companies can come together and create an electronic exchange. And then the last one is known as independent exchanges, where anybody can go and create an exchange environment. When we look at the next category, marketing, we note that e-commerce and Mcommerce actually plays a major role in marketing. Now, nowadays we would find that many companies monitor client interactions very closely. So they will gather data on your customer behavior and your preferences, and they would build up a profile for you. Now, many internet advertisers use the data that was created, and they will actually go and target specific markets by tailoring ads. And that is why if you look at social media nowadays, you would find that if your friends like certain products, they're going to assume that you also like that. And they're going to target you, again, based on your friends' preferences. They will also look at the sites that you visit. So from time to time, if they notice that you're looking at a particular site or a particular range of products, you would find that Google, all the ads that you see in YouTube and even on Facebook, these might be customized based on your browsing history and browsing patterns. Now, when companies go and they put you in a profile based on your previous trends and patterns, that is actually known as market segmentation. And they can go and they can target specific markets. Let's look at some other categories. The first one is advertising. Now, advertising can be actually very complicated and complex, but for now we're just going to look at some of the basics. You might have wondered how many websites and applications make their money. For example, if you go to a Play Store, Google Play Store or App Store and you download applications, in most cases they will tell you that that application is free, and you will find that there will be various ads. So even though the application is free, if anybody click on those ads, they actually get money for that. So that is part of their strategies that they use in order to generate funds. Now when we talk about marketing or advertising, we need to take into account that there's various ways in which they determine what to pay applications and what to pay websites when users actually go and look at ads. So we talk about general mobile ad impressions. Now there's 3 categories. The first one is cost per thousand. So for any 1,000 customers that look at an ad or that the ad is displayed to, a company would get a certain amount of money back from the original people advertising on their site. The next one is cost per click. Every time when a customer click on an ad, they will generate money, and that money will be sent back to the company. The third option is cost per action. Now cost per click and cost per action is actually quite similar. The only difference is with cost per click you can go and click on an ad, but it doesn't mean that you're going to read the ad and interact or invest in that particular ad. Whereas with cost per action, you might see an ad and now you get interested, you go to another website and you start buying based on that particular ad. So what are the measures of success? What do companies actually look for if they want to determine whether their advertising strategies are successful? The first one is they can go and look at the number of users that they've reached. So did people buy more products? Did they gain more customers, etc.? They can actually go and look at the click-through rate. Now the click-through rate is similar to cost per action. So if somebody clicks on an ad, what are they going to do? Are they going to read the ad? Are they going to further interact with that particular ad? And then the last one, we can look at the number of actions taken. For example, the number of downloads, the number of times the ad is viewed, etc. Now, a lot of these advertising techniques also work on mobile devices. And the nice thing about mobile devices is companies can actually go and by having your cell phone number, again they can go and determine your location, they can put you in a certain profile, and they can actually go and customize some of the ads based on your location and your preferences. The next category is bartering. Now with bartering, businesses typically make use of web platforms that will allow them to barter all access inventory, and it will in many cases allow them to gain some extra customers and to avoid unnecessary costs by products that's wasted, that need to be destroyed, unused raw materials, services, etc. We also find that in many cases that cash-strapped customers find bartering very appealing. So instead of paying cash for something, you can actually go and exchange one product for another product. So if we think about a basic example, let's say something like farming. You've got a lot of chickens which lay eggs, and your friend has a lot of carrots. So instead of paying money, you can tell your friends, okay, I'm going to give you eggs and you give me carrots for payment. So that's a way of bartering. Another option that or category that we find here a lot is retargeting. Now retargeting happens when companies have products that was ordered but that was never collected, or where the transactions didn't go through. So there's a lot of abandoned carts, and instead of discarding these products, they will typically go and sell these at reduced rates, and they will again get rid of this inventory in their stock. We might find that companies would go, let's say for argument's sake, somebody buys t-shirts, they buy 100, and then suddenly they decide they only want 50. So now that company sits with 50 extra t-shirts, which technically they don't want to destroy, but now they can advertise it on the internet and hope that somebody is willing to go and buy that. Another concept that we find with regards to bartering is price comparison. Price comparison we find with sites such as pricecheck.co.za, where nowadays on the internet it's quite easy. You go to a site, you type in the product that you want to buy, they will show you which companies are going to sell that product, the price at which it's going to be sold, and then you can take it a step further by saying, show me the closest company, or perhaps show me the company that provides it at the cheapest rate. The last one is couponing. Coupons are very popular, especially in countries such as America, where people can actually get huge discounts if they make use of coupons. Now in South Africa we also see that where some of the major companies such as Clicks and Pick n Pay and Shoprite and Checkers and those guys, where they tell you that if you buy this product you can get that product at a cheaper price, or you can get both of them for a certain price, or buy 3 products but only pay for 2 products. The next category is investment and finance. Now we find this where we have got online trading, and again this is gaining a lot more popular, and people can now go to websites and they can follow stock exchange information, and if they want to do trading they can even go and trade over the internet. The last 2 categories we're going to look at is banking and e-boutiques. Now online banking has made our lives actually quite a lot easier. So instead of going to a bank, standing in long queues, wasting your time, you can go to the bank's website, which will enable you to go and check your balances, to transfer funds, make payments, and to perform various other activities, change your limits and all those kind of things. When we go to e-boutiques, the last category, this is where we have a personalized shopping consultation experience. Again, overseas it's more popular than here. For example, if you're a celebrity and you want to buy products, instead of going to a shop, you will have a personal consultant. They will know what you like and you don't like, and they will go and do shopping on your behalf. We typically find that with e-boutiques, which are very specialized shopping environments, that there's high customer service. So these people tend to want to keep their customers happy. And there's also a very strong customer relationship. So typically you would find that it's a one-on-one interaction that will mainly take place. Now let's look at the advantages of electronic and mobile commerce. Now this is perhaps a summary of what we've discussed so far. So first of all, e-commerce and Mcommerce will provide us with a bigger customer base, so we will have a global reach. So by having access to more people around the world, we can now actually go and buy products cheaper and actually sell our products to more customers. It's going to help us by reducing our costs, by simplifying various processes, and even by getting products at cheaper rates. It's also going to speed up the flow of goods and information. Because we're directly communicating with companies and it is in electronic format, we don't need to be restricted to old-fashioned snail mail approaches, waiting for information to come to us, those kind of things. We can have information at the click of a button. Number 4, it also increases accuracy. Now we can actually allow our customers to go and more precisely indicate what their requirements are and what they expect from products. So if it's an environment where, let's say, they want to design their own t-shirts, instead of you assuming to know what the customer wants and possibly making mistakes, the customer can now go and determine exactly what they want, and they would take the responsibility for that particular product. And then the final advantage is it's going to improve customer service. So by having better interaction with your customer, direct interaction with your customer, we're going to be able to give detailed information about delivery dates, status in terms of your products, amount of products, quality of products, etc. And that typically increases our customer loyalty. In our next section, we're going to continue and talk about E and M commerce technology infrastructure.